we've got that similar tower shape to what we had last time, and someone asked what if they wanted to modify the underlying geometry, that FFD box was the only way that they would do that. And the answer is kind of yes and no. I still will use an FFD box, but I won't do it after. I'll try to do it underneath those modifications. So I have an FFD box here that I've put on because I'm going to want to make some modifications to this. But if we put an edit poly on top of this, we should still be able to do some of our topology tools that we wanted to do. I can actually still go in and loop that edge and loop that edge and loop around here. Let's just loop those and let's split that off and take this back element and get rid of it. Actually, I'll just delete these faces. Actually, I split that on the wrong side, so there we go. So we've got our surface that we want, and in our edit poly we can modify our topology the same way we were doing before. If we did want more tessellation, we could do that a couple different ways. I'll add a tessellate modifier. I'll set the tension to 0, have it work on faces, so I've got another level of subdivision. Let's put an edit poly modifier on here. And so now we've done our kind of gridding to this geometry. If we wanted to go in and add a seam there, we could. But now that we've got that geometry on there, we should be able to go back down to our original edit poly, which has been modified with this control point, and modify that some. And you can see it's modifying our base geometry, but everything that was done to the original edit poly is being done after. So we can select this and do whatever we want. And so that geometry is still intact. And then I'll put another edit poly on here. And then on this one I can do the regular operations that I usually do. And this technique's got to be getting old already, but do that. I'll put another edit poly on here. The face level, delete those. You have to put that second one to keep the settings constant in that first one. And then shell. I kind of cheated for that last one to make it cooler for that front page. I went ahead and finished the whole subdivision technique. Now I don't think I could go in and change the amount of subdivision kind of dynamically. That would probably break it. So let's go ahead and add a mesh smooth. I switch this to classic. Bring this down some. This gives me the geometry for subdividing that I want, or for running another mesh smooth, but it'll give me tighter edges when now I put another mesh smooth on here. And this one I leave as NURMS. So that'll give me this kind of smooth shape. And if I go in and actually increase this, you can see I can get a smoother shape. So we're using that first one kind of as a global fillet to give us the hard edges, which that's not out of the question either, is to put an edit poly on there and put a fillet on everything. But now we've got our cage here, and we can still go back down to our original control points and modify this. If necessary, or do whatever it is we've got to do to this thing. And the advantage to doing it this way is that we're not deforming or distorting that top level geometry, which is if we did this with an FFD box after, and it's best to illustrate if I turn these things off, or not those. This thickness, you can see, is remaining constant, where if we were doing it with an FFD box after, it would start to change quite a bit because we'd be distorting it. Let's see what happens if we tell our shell to maintain straight corners. Yeah, there we go. We get some pretty gnarly stuff on the edge here. Let's finish off our mesh smooth. A little different on the edges, getting some. So that would be the technique for modifying the underlining geometry without having to go in and deform it after. So it's kind of a hybrid of what was posted in the comments. But if there's any questions, feel free to post them in the comments section, and hopefully I'll start posting some more 3ds Max 2010 videos soon.